Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Nicole Long.
And I'm Kevin Quinn. We begin tonight in Broome County, where a multi-million-dollar renovation project is officially underway.
12 News' Kyle Spisak has more on a project that will add over 100 affordable housing units to help combat Binghamton's housing crisis.
Affordable housing, a crisis Broome County has been facing for the past few years, with options either being too expensive or conditions unlivable. However, things could be turning around. Construction has officially begun on a $94 million renovation project of the Town and Country apartment complex on Binghamton's north side. The 256-unit property has over 100 vacant units due to their unsafe condition.
In a place like this, that is struggling with high levels of poverty, food instability, and empty, vacant buildings, I think people were surprised to learn that half of Town and Country apartments were in fact empty.
The renovations will not only give current residents safer housing conditions, but they will receive some upgrades as well, such as new flooring, appliances, windows, and electrical fixtures, just to name a few. The project will also add over 100 units of affordable housing in the city of Binghamton, a transformation Mayor Jared Cram says is the most important investment in recent history.
This project, 256 units, $94 million of investment, represents probably the single most important housing investment in our community in recent memory, transforming one of our area's most neglected and troubled apartment complexes into safe, quality, affordable housing for hundreds of families.
The funding comes through the state's Homes and Community Renewal Agency, who does not plan to stop at Town and Country, but plans on building more housing in the city as well.
When you drive around and you see those vacant lots in between houses and you sort of think, why can't we just build houses in all these little vacant lots? We're going to do that.
Vesta Corporation, who bought the apartment complex, says the project will take place over the next 3 years. I'm Kyle Spisak, 12 News, Broome County.